In today's video we're going to build a wall-mounted wardrobe cabinet which is made mostly of solid wood. The width of this wardrobe is 45 cm, but the standard width of solid boards I've got is 30 cm. So I need to glue another 15 cm board to get the width I need in this project. I make the edges flat and square with my jointer and put a mark once they match perfectly. I decided to make a tongue and groove joint because that's a really strong joint and can be made using just a table saw. The groove is 8 mm deep and 4 mm width. Once I know the groove measures, I continue cutting the tongues. The tongue has to fit a little bit loose inside the groove and you wanna make sure both pieces match all the way along. The following step is to glue the boards together. I apply as much glue as possible, inside the groove, on the edges, on the tongue, so I ensure the glue is touching every point of the joint. A good sign is when the glue squeezes out while clamping. After a couple hours, I take off the clamps and put the board on a flat surface to prevent it from warping. Then I continue working on the other boards. The process takes a little time when you don't have many clamps, and that was my case. I had to wait to release the clamps and add another board, but I used this time to remove the squeeze out glue and clean up the edges with the jointer. I also cut the boards I'm gonna mount to the wall and use them as a cabinet frame. We need some support slats for the cabinet divisions as well. The pieces I'm cutting right now are for making a platform frame, which is the cabinet floor. This platform is going to help to have a solid cabinet and lift the doors from the floor. I'm cutting 6 short pieces and 2 long ones. They are 180 cm long and that's the wardrobe cabinet width. Let's assemble the platform. I start attaching the sides from the back, then I continue with the inner pieces. I make some kind of pocket holes to attach the front and keep the screw heads hidden. Once the frame is ready, I can glue and screw the top board. Notice that the frame is a little bit out of square, that's why I screw one side first to hold the board in place, then I screw the other side. I'm using a square to find the frame divisors, so I won't drive any screw out of place. Finally, I fill the screw holes with wood filler. I continue this project by cutting the boards to size. This board specifically is the side of the wardrobe and it's going to cover from the floor to the ceiling. That's around 4 meters. It means that I need to add another board to get that long. For joining both pieces, I'm going to make a half lap joint using my router, but before that I need to clamp a temporary fence. To locate the fence, I measure the end of the base plate to the rubber bit. Make a couple passes to remove all the material needed. Double check if everything is nice and square. I repeat the same to the another board. Then I cut it into size to reach the ceiling. This is how they are going to be. The next what I do is to sand all the pieces, so I can move forward to the finishing. As you could see at the beginning of this video, this wardrobe is white. I will tell you how I did it. I sprayed 2 coats of polyurethane white primer and I sand with a 360 grit after the second coat. Sanding will leave the surface nice and flush and ready to apply the varnish. So now I apply a semi-gloss polyurethane white varnish. It has to be the same finishing product line to ensure a perfect finish. I let it dry for 24 hours, then I start assembling and mounting the wardrobe to the wall. First, I attach the floor platform to the side. That's going to form a L shape and this will be our reference to continue with the assembly. I set this section to the room corner where the wardrobe will be mounted. Next, I continue mounting the cabinet frame. The bottom of this board is aligned with the platform and vertically on level. I made pilot holes to locate the board, then I keep on drilling the holes without it. The tip of the holes has to be enough to insert at least 2 inches screws with the frame. Next I set the board in place and insert the wooden dowels. Lastly I drive the screws in. I need to add another piece to reach the ceiling and continue with the framing on it. I discounted the thick of the board at the end of this piece so the top board can fit in. The mounting process is the same as the previous one. I drill the holes, insert the dowels through the holes and attach the board with screws. Check if it's on level and aligned with the other one. Okay, this section of the frame was a little bit tricky to install because I need to hold the board in place while I'm drilling the pilot holes. I recommend to use a dust collector if you have one, otherwise the dust will fall down to you. It's my case. I continue attaching the board to the ceiling, going from the end to the wall side. There is another short piece that needs to be mounted to complete the main frame. This piece has to be square with the wall and aligned with the end of the previous one. I'm going to attach the bracket for the main horizontal divider, which is at 2 meters from the floor. This board needs a cut in the front corner to sit on the bracket and surround the frame. I also put the vertical board in place. I'm attaching this horizontal board and the vertical one both at the same time. Make sure the vertical divider has the same height as the bracket to sit the top board on level. Then I attach the divider from the top, but down on the platform I'm going to add another bracket to screw the divider in place. Before driving any screw, I'm making counterbore holes to all these pieces I'm attaching, so when I fill the holes there will be just homogeneous circle marks. Next I use the level to mark the position of another shelf. I use another board to hold the shelf in place so I can start driving the screws from the sides. I let this board to the end because it was easier when the other parts were assembled and because I wanted to screw the horizontal divider and the half lap joint together. I'm filling the screw holes with white silicone sealant. It needs to be carefully done to avoid any mess. Make sure to clean up the silicone that's spread out. This is what I've got at the end of the day. On the next day I continue installing this L-shaped bracket to the floor platform, so it won't get apart from the wall. I also continue installing more shelves and dividers to the cabinet. Think about the ways in which you're going to use your wardrobe. Each cupboard will store different items. Look at the space available and work out how to keep as much storage as possible. The bottom shelf I'm attaching is for shoes storage. The distance from the base depends on how much space you need for your shoes. This upper board needs a corner cut to fit between the frame and sit on the bracket. The clothes rod is going to be under this shelf, and I decided to add the shelf to install the rod in a lower position and also make this space useful. I add an L-shaped bracket to have an extra support. There are plenty of ways to achieve a great layout, and if you plan and configure it correctly, your wardrobe can be a very functional space. You want to make sure that the edges are nice and flush to each other and the shelves are perfectly on level. This is the last divider I'm going to add. It's right in the middle of the wardrobe and it's going to help to install the door hinges. In the second part of this video I'm gonna be making and installing the wardrobe doors and drawers. If you like this project so far, please subscribe to my channel, that helps me a lot to create more content. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.